My name is Ben Stocks, and today I'm going to be showing you some of the new features in JustWare 5.7. And I also travel a lot to different offices, and I talk to a lot of people on the phone, and I'll show them something in JustWare that was released a couple of versions ago, and they're just in awe by it because they had no idea that it existed, and it just really helps them. So I'm also going to show a couple of those features as well. I want to thank you all first for taking time watching this webinar and trying to better your skills with JustWare and learn more, so I appreciate that. The first thing that I'm going to show you was not released in 5.7. It was probably released back in 5.4 or 5.5, and it's the default case type. So if I'm a data entry personnel and I deal with criminal felony cases 95% of my day, I don't want to go in there and select the case type every time. I just want it to automatically default to criminal felony. So currently right now when I hit new case, I'm going to get a pop-up asking me to select my case type right here. So I have to go in and select my case type. But if I know that 95% of my cases are going to be a certain type, let's go ahead and set that up. And to do that, we come up top to Tools, Settings, Default View Settings, and it's just this default case type box up at the top. I'm going to put this to criminal felony and hit OK. And now when I do a new case, you'll notice that that case type box is automatically filled out with the criminal felony type. I didn't have to select that. Then I can just tab over, give it an open status, and be on my way. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you that a lot of people don't seem to be too aware of. The next thing I'm going to show you, which was released in JustWare 5.7, is a zip code autofill. Now I know that a lot of you guys, a lot of the agencies out there watching that was on 4.6 and are now on JustWare 5 are going to be pretty happy about this. You go to System Administration, Code Tables, and Names. And then down here we have our zip code autofill rules. So I click on that and you'll notice that I have a zip code in here. This top part is a search screen. So this top part is just going to let you search for any zip codes that you're going to add. So when I do a search, I see that 83263 gives me Preston, Idaho. If I do a search for 84321, I have a Logan and a Nibley, Utah. If you look up here on the state, you can confine your search by state. I just have all 50 states selected. And also on your city, if you wanted to search for a certain city, you could do that. So I'm just going to do Preston, and you see that I have 2 Prestons in there. So to add a new zip code, it's just like anywhere else in JustWare. You hit this green plus sign or Control-I, and you can now add your new zip code. So I'm just going to do 75432. And we're going to make this Seattle, Arkansas. Now this default box, let me show you what that default box is. I know that I have a couple of zip codes out there with 84321, and the reason it didn't show up is because I have Preston as my city. So 84321, and I have Logan selected as my default. 75432 gives me my Seattle, Arkansas. I'm sorry. So if I go to add in a new case, or a new name I should say, or even search for a name and add in a new address, I'm just going to go to my Darth Vader name record here. If it will ever load. There we go. If you'll notice, he already has a couple home addresses, but let me show you. My home address is going to be 778 Easy Way Drive. And I'm going to do my 75432 and tab over, and you'll notice it automatically filled out my city and state. Now the nice thing, if you do have multiple zip codes, I'm pretty creative, right? 84321 and tab over. It automatically put Logan in because I had that default checkbox marked. But the nice thing about this is you'll notice that it's a drop down now. So if I just typed in N, it's going to switch to Nibley, but it defaults to Logan, and then I can tab over and save. And so you don't have to fill out your city and state anymore if you have those zip codes filled up correctly. The next feature I want to show you was also released in JustWare 5.7. I'm going to close my tab so everybody that I trained isn't going to yell at me about tab management. And I'm just going to come back to System Administration, and I'm going to show you the case title configuration. So if we go and we add a new case for Darth Vader, I'm just going to go to his name record and add a new case real quick. I'm going to show you our default case type that you guys are all familiar with seeing. Add in a charge of assault, save that, and then you'll notice up at the top, once this is finished saving, you're going to have a little column up at the top that has our default case. So we have Darth Anakin Vader. If I do a search for this, it's 12-14, so let's do a search for 12-14. And you'll notice this is our default case title. If you wanted to change that in the past, you couldn't do that, but now with JustWare 5.7, you're able to. So let's go and create a custom case title. So I'm in System Administration. I go to Code Tables and Cases. And then if you'll notice, it's the fourth one down called Case Title Configuration. So this is very literal. I'm just going to do these for the criminal felony cases. You can select what agency added by and what case types this is for. So I'm only going to do this for criminal felony cases. This allow manual edit will allow anybody who has the rights and security profiles to manually edit a case title. So I'm going to select that as now. Now this part configuration is very, very literal. So we read left to right. When you're creating these, you have to read up and down. So this part type will say, all right, what do you want first? The first thing I want is my default title. So our original title, this title right here, is what that box means. So there's my default title name. If I wanted to, I could change this around a little, just switch the charge. I'm just going to leave it how it is. Now if I want a space in between this and the next field, I have to go in and add a free text, and then down here I have to add a space. So that's how literal this is. You are reading up to top to bottom. You have to put in your punctuation or spaces with the free text. So I put in a space, and then I'm going to add a new row under here under part configuration. The next item I want is involved names. And I want the involvement of prosecuting attorney to show up. So prosecuting attorney, you can have a maximum listed of all or only one prosecutor. I'll just leave it of all. And then you're going to select the separator for your prosecuting attorneys. You can letter case as appears in the case, uppercase, capitalize each word is what I'm going to pick. Then you can also name format with the first, middle, last, and you'll see that we have quite a few options here. So right now with how this is set up, I'm going to have free text of a space, and I actually want to change this. Instead of just a space, I want it to say prosecutor, colon, with another space, and then save. So now when I go back to this Darth Anakin Vader case, and I make a change, so I'm just going to add in a note, you'll see that this top part right here is going to change to my custom case title. Now this isn't retroactive. It's not going to go back and change everything that you have done in JustWare. And let me go ahead and add a prosecuting attorney to this case so that you can see what it looks like. We're going to add in Dave Gerard because everybody loves him. So I added him in. And now up at the top you'll see Darth Anakin Vader assault space prosecutor colon space Dave Gerard. And because I do have rights and security profiles, I can go and edit this title. But now when I go and do a search for this 12-14, notice how this case title is going to change. See how now we have, I loaded the default because that's what I wanted, and then I have prosecutor Dave Gerard with my law, court, and case ID. So that's a nice way that you can kind of manipulate your case titles and make them how you want them. Add certain people in up top that we weren't able to do before. The next item that I want to show you was probably released in 5.5, and it's the default event start time. So I'm going to leave this Darth Anakin Vader case open. Go to System Administration and let me go to Events because this is what it's going to default to. System Administration, Code Tables, Cases, Events, and I have a default start time right here, and you're probably going to have to scroll over to the right to see this if you're going to set this up, and a default duration. So I'm going to drag this over as well. Now you'll see that I have a few already set up. I have an arraignment to start at 9 a.m. with a 30-minute duration. Let's do a bench trial, and we're just going to have this begin at 10 o'clock a.m. and we're going to make this an hour-long duration. Now when I save and go back to my case, I need to refresh my screen so that that's loaded up, and I add an event in of bench trial. Notice what happens to my time right here. Right now it's scheduled for 3/1/11:02 a.m. with a duration of 1. As soon as I tab over, you see the time switch to 10 a.m. and put a duration in for 1 hour and made the end time for 11 a.m. So I mean, this is something very simple that can save data entry a lot of time entering in time, the start time of events, which a lot of people don't seem to be too aware of. So that's our default event start time. Very easy to set up and use. The next item that I want to go into is case payments. So over here on the left hand screen, this was released in 5.5 as well. And this is just a way you can take payments without actually going to someone's name record. So case payments, you'll see that we have a case search box. So you can search for anything here. You can search for a case. So if I wanted to, I could search for that 12-14. It automatically plugs Darth Vader's name record in because it's an exact match. Now, most of your defendants coming in to pay a fine or fee aren't going to know their case number or a court number, so they're probably just going to give you their first and last name, which is fine. So I'm just going to do a search for Princess Leia, tab over. She already has a case in there, so it was an exact match on Princess Leia as well. Now to use the exact match, you have to hit tab and not enter. So if Princess Leia had 2 cases out there and I hit tab, it's going to take me to a search screen anyways because I have to select. But up here at the top you have a nice little summary. You see her case status, what the case is, her obligations. She still owes $15 and she came in to pay that. So $15 cash, and then you can put a reference number if it's a check. And then you can save right here. And notice what's going to happen down here on this nice little embedded report when I save. It's going to add a line saying, hey, Princess Leia came in on this date and paid, and here's her receipt. So if I wanted to look at her receipt, I could just click on this, and it's going to open up, and there's her receipt, and I could print that out. Now this is very useful for people who take payments through the mail. We had a developer in here who took about 100 payments in a minute because he had the case numbers and information and everything. But if you do take payments from the mail, it's very useful for you. Even if they come up to the window and you don't give out receipts, you can use it that way as well. The next thing I want to show you is non-monetary payment types. So if we come into Darth Vader's name record, you'll see that he doesn't have any financials associated with him. Let's go and give him a couple of fines and fees. A court cost. and we'll also give him a fine. Save that. But say that the judge during his hearing saying, all right, you can pay this off in community service or something like that, and community service is $8 an hour. So of course you track this in your case, but I'm going to go back to Darth Vader's name record and get his stuff all loaded up. And let me show you where you set up the non-monetary payment type. This was released in 5.6. So if I just go back in my system administration, this is the home page. When you click on System Administration, I need to go to Code Tables, Financials, and Financial Obligation. Payments. I'm sorry, you need to go to Payments. Then if you'll notice down here, I already have one set up as community service with the type of payment, and the code type is non-monetary value. So now you can write reports off of this code type in here that will show you who's paid with community service and all that kind of good stuff. So let's go back to Darth Vader's name record. And the judge says $8 per hour for community service. He comes in here showing with proof that he worked 5 hours of community service. So that equals out to be $40. And instead of cash, I actually need to pick community service. When I save this, the receipt is going to render and show that Darth Vader actually paid with 5 hours of community service. Now, if you wanted to track this in the payment, you could just move the notes over, add in 5 hours. You don't have to put community service because it's already in there. And then when you look at the receipt, those notes will show up. You can see that he did 5 hours of community service. Or you can add it in there to say that. If we go to obligation history. Probably edit that part out, Alex. The next item I want to go over was released in 5.7, and this is for non-case payments. So now you know how I had to go into Darth Vader's name record and add these fines and court costs in. Now in JustWare 5.7 we don't have to do that anymore. You can come over here to payments, and it's just this non-case payments here. So things like marriage licenses or birth certificates or anything like that where people just come in and they don't necessarily need a case for it, but they need to pay for it. You can do this now. So the item that I have in here, the two examples that I gave, was a birth certificate and marriage license. And those are $20 per unit. So someone comes in and says, I need a marriage license. You can just hop over to this screen, give them a marriage license, see how they're going to pay. They come in with a cashier's check. Here's my reference number. And then you can either check or click on one of these boxes, or you could just come in and type. Name and notes, we're going to use Darth needed a marriage license. And then down here you can link it to a name record. So if they have a name record in JustWare, this is where you're going to search for that name record. So I do have a Darth Anakin Vader. I'm going to link this payment to his name record, and when I save, it's going to show up down here in my history. So I save my payment. It's going to print out a nice little receipt for Darth Vader saying, hey, here's your marriage license receipt. And then it's going to show how they paid, when they paid, and the reference number. So if I go back to Darth Vader's name record now, you'll see right here we have cashier's check for a birth certificate for $5, but when I refresh, we're going to have that $20 as well that he just came in and paid for the marriage license right here. It put my notes in there, it put my reference number, it brought the receipt over. So this is a nice way where you guys can take money without actually inserting a case. Deposits is the next piece of 5.7 that I want to show you. And it's also just over here under accounting tools, this deposits button. This is really neat because you can manage your deposits from here. It makes a nice little deposit sheet for you. So I'm just going to add a row in here. If you notice that screen was blank, I have to give it a start and end date. So I want anything taken between the middle of February I'm actually going to move this back to the 6th of February and the beginning of March with the status of pending with these payment types, and then you just go through and you can even do people's drawers. So how much money did Nudon take? How much money did Jenny Gledhill take? I'm just going to leave them all here, and I'm going to create my deposit. So we shouldn't have too much on this deposit because I've only taken a few payments in here. But if you see down here, I have $35, $15 from Princess Leia, which I took in the case payment screen, and then the $20 for the marriage license. But we have a nice little report down here saying, all right, this is how much cash we took in, this is how much cashier's check we brought in. And then if you had check or money orders or anything like that, it would show up down here and just list everything that was paid for with what, who paid it, what case it goes to, what obligations, all that kind of good stuff. So, and you can customize this report however you want to make it look. So now up here, if you'll notice, we have a status of pending. I'm going to come and change this to posted. Then if we go back a screen, we're going to go to deposit history. And this will show all the deposit sheets that I had. You'll see that this one is for today. All these are posted. Here's one that was posted on the 7th. And it has a little more payments to it. It's $730. So I'm just going to scroll down through this so that you can see what it's for. So here's all of our caches that we took. If I just open this up, it tells you what case it was for. If I drill down even farther, it's going to go even more. It went towards a fine and court cost. Here's all of our cashier's check that we took in, money order, and this one was actually voided, so it even shows those. Here's what it looked like on the 17th when we entered it in, and here's what it looked like today when we entered it in. So you could come in here and fill out your deposit date on the date that it was actually deposited, put in the amount, and then there's your deposit sheet that you can have on history, and it just stays in here. So if you ever need to go back and look at another one, they're in here. Like I say, it's really neat, and you can customize this report. It's automatically done. You don't have to worry about filling out any more of those spreadsheets or anything, or getting a custom report built from us. It's now right here in JustWare for you. The next item that I want to show you that you 4.6 folks are going to like again, need to do my tab management, is statute searching. So those of you who have statute fields with like 5,000 statutes in it, or even 500, I mean, that can be a little daunting to scroll through. We're just going to go to our system administration, code tables, statutes, and statutes. And you'll notice that up here on the top we have a search. So you can search by whatever is farthest left. So if I wanted to do a search for theft, I just type that in, and here comes all my thefts. If I wanted to do a search on code, I move this over to the left and let me scroll up so it will drop down. I'm just going to do a search on that 21, so it will drop down to theft. So whatever column is farthest left, and you can just drag and drop these, JustWare is going to do a search on. So tampering, if we wanted to look at our tamperings, it goes down to there. So now we have a way to search your statutes in JustWare 5.7 is when this was released. So I mean, it's pretty neat. You don't have to scroll through all those rows anymore or use your filters. You can just use this search box up here. The next item we're going to go over is customizing our snap-ins. This is another thing that people are like, hey, I want this changed, or I want this changed, and they don't know that they can change it and push it out to their end users. So to set this up, you have to go first to Security Profiles, and that's in System Administration Security, Security Profiles. I'm part of the super user group, and you see that's where we also got our edit case titles at, so that's where that's set up. And the customize snap-in settings equals true. So that's where you go to set up your rights to do this, and it's done by profile rights. So the only people who can do this in this database is anybody who's involved in this super user group. So let's go back to our case. And this icon right here is our customized snap-in icon. So if I come to my other tab or my events tab, and I don't really care about where location takes place or anything like that, I can come to my Customize Snap-in, and it's just opened up like this, and I don't want to see location anymore. So here's location. I'm just going to uncheck this, and if you'll notice, when I click OK, that location box is gone. Now we also have what happened column over here. If I check on this Customize Snap-in, I can see that it was originally notes over here, and I want to change it back to that. So I simply click on it, type in notes, and click OK, and it's changed back to notes. Now you can do this for every single tab that you have open, and in order to change like these tabs up top name or these top tabs right here, you have to have them highlighted. So other, I want this changed to notes and attributes. You have to go up to Tools, Options, Customize Active Snap-in Group Name, and there's my other, and I just want this changed to Notes, Attributes, Related Cases. So it's a long tab name and it's going to take up some screen space, but you can come up with whatever names you want. And then same thing down here. If I just want this to say Notes, I have to click on this Snap-in underneath the tab of Case Notes, Tools, Options, Customize Active Snap-in, and I'm just going to change this back to Notes and click OK. So one thing to note while you are doing this, make sure that you only have one case or name session open, because what happens is JustWare is going to remember the last case or name that you have open. So if I do a close all sessions but this, and I did all my changes on this tab right here, and this was a case as well, it's going to remember this case because it's the last one that opened. So once you go through and you make all your changes, and you customize all your snap-ins how you want, you change the names that you want, then you can go and push these out to your end users. And to do this, you go to System Administration, Tools, and it is the default user settings. So anytime you make changes, you're going to want to come in here, and if you want them pushed out, you're going to always want to add a new row. Give it a name so you know exactly what you did. You push it out to an agency. So New Dawn Prosecutors, force your update, and then save. And then the next time Jay Sizzle or Dave Gerard or Jenny Gledhill logs into JustWare, they're going to see the changes that I made on this case. And that is the webinar on some of the features that have been new in 5.7 and features that have been added that have kind of been overlooked by some people that I've talked to. So just to recap, we went over default case types, how you set those up, zip code autofill, case title configuration, default event start times, case payments, non-monetary payment types, the non-case payment, so your birth certificates, the deposit sheet, how that automatically fills out, and your customized snap-ins and how you can push those out to end users. And we also went over statute searching. I appreciate your guys' time today, and as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to call or email myself, Jessica Cottle, or Jeremy Gledhill, and we'll be happy to assist you with any questions or setups that you need to have. Thanks for your time, everyone.